Hello, this is Murtaza Rahimi. This is my presentation for assignment 3 in ACIT 4640 winter 2024 semester. This assignment has a Terraform and a Ansible component, but on top of that it also has a where we want to sort of capture the TF state and the ID lock for the Terraform. So we use an S3 bucket to capture the TF state and a DynamoDB table to capture the lock ID. Okay, let's go ahead and do Terraform init. As part of this initialization, it also initializes and connects to the S3 bucket and DynamoDB. And from there, let's go ahead and Terraform plan. Now, what is the plan? The plan is to spin up two EC2 instances. Let's call one front end and one back end. The front end is going to be accessible from anywhere using SSH and HTTP, whereas the back end is going to be accessible from anywhere using SSH for administrative purposes, but only accessible through HTTP from within the VPC. So ostensibly only from the front end EC2 instance. Yeah, and then as part of that, we sort of put because we were creating two security groups, we made a module for that and sort of referenced it to use it. Once this is set up, we're going to move over to the Ansible portion where I have it set up so that it dynamically generates the inventory of like the IP addresses, both public and private, for the two EC2 instances. And I've done that by tagging both EC2 instances, calling one front end and one back end. And that's how I've referenced them in my playbook and in the roles. And yeah, so I've also split up the playbook. Maybe while this is going, I can show you the playbook. Hopefully you can see this. So the Ansible has roles for the front end and back end. For the front end, I have a template for the HelloCom for the Nginx configuration, just because I wanted to dynamically put in the IP address of the backend EC2 instance for the proxy pass. Whereas for the front end, because they were sort of boilerplate as they came, I end up cloning the repository into the instance and then copying it locally there. Yeah, so let's go back. This should be good. Okay, so we've got our instances here all set up. Let's go over to this side and let's run our playbook. And again, we're using this inventory to dynamically get the addresses we need. I know I could have put in the, I believe, Ansible config to sort of bypass that so it doesn't prompt for it. But that's less safe. I don't know what the best practice is there. Yeah, so going over sort of the tasks that are happening as part of my playbook, we start with the front end, in which we want to install Nginx and ensure the directory where we're going to put our config files exists. And we'll clone the repository that you provided and copy the index.html to the web root. I believe front end is where we put it, and then copy the hello.conf files over based on the template in this case. So now it should have the IP address, the private IP address of the backend. That'll help us when we test it to do our post request using curl. And then on the backend side, the playbook, again, just ensures that the directories exist. And then again, clones the repository, copies the hello server to where we want it to be, which I think was like var www backend. And then there are steps to install caddy, and then that's when we copy over the caddy file, copy over the hello server service file, and then we want to, we call our handlers. We have two handlers here to restart hello server and restart caddy. And as we see, everything went through okay. And if we wget, I should actually now public instance, if we wget this, I always forget Control-Shift-V. We see that we got our index file. The 4640 demo. And then if we do our post request to the front end, copy that over. Bear with me. Hopefully this works. Sorry about that, got distracted. There we go. We got the hello from your server. This lets us know that our hello server is running, that's up. Same with the caddy to interact with the Nginx, and the sort of forwarding is all working as intended. Maybe I have about a minute or two. Just quickly go over the files. Yeah, so big picture, there's Terraform, and we have the structure is that we have our main.tf with the variables that we use sort of put aside, and then for the modules we're using a main that has the security group, and then that way we can sort of feed it what sort of ingress and egress rules we want to set, and then it'll return the IDs for those security groups that then we assign to EC2 instances. Yeah, a lot of this is similar to previous. What's new is this sort of backend where we have our S3. And so I created this S3 in the DynamoDB table once separately. I know you can have a separate Terraform file to do that, but in one of the links that you had shared in one of the previous week's notes, it said that best practice is to do this as a one-time 3 and have it controlled. So hopefully that's okay. Then it's all the boilerplate, get a project name, get a VPC going, subnets. Yeah, make sure, I'm wondering if there's anything. Yeah, so here's where we sort of call our module, public security group. And then for this one, I wanted to sort of do the public. So it's from everywhere for both 22 and 80. Whereas this one, I wanted it to, for port 80 for HTTP, I wanted it to only be from our VPC. So hence giving it that. SSH is all the same as previous, getting the Ubuntu 23.04, and then we create our two EC2 instances, and this is where I tagged them, which I used to dynamically generate the inventory. And then on the Ansible side, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I used 2 role bases, and then this is use the AWS EC2 plugin for the dynamic inventory. And in the playbook, kept it simple because everything's in roles, is we have a front end configure and a backend play. And for each one, we give it the host. This is where we're feeding it the inventory. And then roles, this is where we call our roles, which then run the task and use the handler specified there. And in the case of the front end, the Nginx template that feeds it the backend IP dynamically, which we specified in the variables here. That's it. Thank you very much.